I've been telling people for the last few years that this show is cursed, but no one believes me. Nostalgia is a beast, and unfortunately for addicted heroin Thailand, we have two adaptations that have cult followings. Stay With Me also set a higher bar for the fandom, and honestly, audiences don't want to see the same thing for the third time. Unless, of course, you ruin it, then they will really have something to talk about. You're supposed to match not one, but two very popular predecessors, and somehow stick the landing. There's only so much new you can squeeze out of a story that's already been milked twice. With the original one being untouchable as the first one, the original, and Stay With Me gaining such success, people won't compare another remake to the originals in a fair way. They'll compare it and say this will never be as good unless they do something dramatic. I think my main question is who's this remake even for? Is it for the fans of the original one? Is it for the fans of the second one? Is it for new fans? Trying to please everyone is a great way to end up pleasing absolutely no one. I already talked about the casting before. I'm not going to keep harping on it again. And before I talk about my issues with the lead's chemistry, I would like to say as well that maybe my issues with the chemistry is because I know that Mac is too young for this series. But that being said, let's talk about the lack of kissing scenes and love scenes. It worked for Stay With Me because they were skirting the line of censorship in China. There were hints on the relationship between Suyu and Woobi, but for the most part, it's bromance. August and Mac do not have on screen chemistry. Great chemistry can carry a bromance. With the right pair, a single shared umbrella can out romance most kissing scenes. A Shoulder to Cry On is a successful BL without any kissing scenes, and it worked for them because the chemistry is just amazing. If there's no kiss, you'd better have something spectacular to fill that void. The first Addicted went off when it comes to the kissing scenes. It's not the greatest kissing scenes, and a lot of it is questionable, but it's a product of its own time. With Stay With Me, fans of bromance like to read between the lines, they'll connect the dots themselves. People expect lingering looks, bro hugs, and subtext. Bromance thrives on restraint. It's all about the will they, won't they, and we know that they won't. This is the third remake. People has expectations. They want emotional moments, physical intimacy, and clear signs that the leads are more than stepbrothers who occasionally share a lingering eye contact. By the third adaptation, the audience knows exactly what they're missing and they're not impressed. We've seen this before and it was better. It's not the kind of reaction you want. Like I said, no on screen kissing scenes can work, but when the leads don't have the chemistry to sell the romance on vibes alone, it's bound to fail. I'm not sure if the issue was because of the age difference of August and Mac or something else. But then again, we have quite a few pairs with age differences and had great on-screen rapport. Or maybe it's because I have certain expectations as a fan of the first two adaptations. A kiss or intimate moment, when done well, isn't just about the physicality, it's about emotional depth. It's the culmination of their journey and the way to show the audience, yes, this is real. If the chemistry isn't there to carry the leads, the absence of intimacy becomes glaringly obvious. And so does the lack of emotional payoff. Okay, starting off, the story of the Thai version basically follows the same flow as the original one and Stay With Me with few changes. Hero and Poppy met at school, not knowing they're connected through marriage. They are antagonistic towards each other, but it's mostly Hero bullying Poppy, to be honest. Hero got introduced to Poppy's family life and situation, and he feels for him. Then the reveal of Poppy's mother being Hero's new stepmom, which is honestly the best part of this show, but it's also one of my favorite part of the original. So there's that. They made up and met with Hero's family. I did not finish the novel, so I'm not sure if Hero being locked up was an addition or if it's straight out of the novel. Either way, at this point, I just did not care enough. I'm sorry. This show is just too lighthearted for no reason. There's a comedic air to it that minimizes the impact of everything else that's happening in the show. You don't know how many times I was teary eyed with Stay With Me. And that's saying something with how they did that adaptation. Point to this show though is I love Hero's aunt, who was only mentioned or shown in passing in the previous ones. You wanna guess who my favorite character is in Stay With Me? It's Duo, the stepsister, who was only present in the background in the original. Do you see a pattern? Even if it's a remake, changes made to add and improve the narrative are the ones that stick to the audience and makes this, if not a better show, its own show and stand on its own. You can dive deeper into existing characters by exploring aspects of their personalities, their backstories, or motivations that were not previously addressed. A secondary character in the original could become the focal point, offering a fresh angle while staying within the framework of the story. We could have made more of both their girlfriends other than cheap conflict plot, which by the way also happened in the previous ones. Like, can we stop making these ladies plot device to start conflict? This is such a BL trope that we really need to stop. I'm not going to talk about much about Poppy because, Mac is 17. Let's just talk about my main issue with the remake. The whole premise of the show is obsession, but Hero's character is so toned down right from the start. Yes, he's a difficult kid, but he's such a typical teenager that's causing trouble to get attention. Guhai and Wooby actually had more than few loose screws, and that's very apparent. Are we trying to fix the character flaws somehow? Is that what's going on here? Because I got news for you. It's part of the appeal. It's why Vegas is so popular. It's why Ming is not in jail. It's why Jasper 2 is successful. You know what's a better approach? Embracing his flaws and providing a better character growth than the original. Hero does not have to be better than Guhai. He just needs to have a better character arc. People nowadays do not seem to know what a nuanced approach is. I'm just saying, leaning into Hero's aggressive nature more is not an endorsement of toxic behavior. Rather than erasing flaws, the story could explore and critique them, offering a nuanced take on boundaries, communication, and respect. Sanitizing his character removes the opportunity to engage in such discourse, which totally removes the addicted part of this story. Even when Hero tried to beat the shit out of one of their classmates, and in the kidnapping scene, at no point do I think Hero is dangerous. He's a hothead, sure. With both Guhai and Wooby, I don't have trouble believing that they will kill when pushed. They actually both almost did. But with how Hero's character was presented, I have a hard time believing that he actually can. I don't want to nitpick, which is wild for me to say when that's basically what I do here. But one of the things that stood out for me was the handwriting plot. Hero asked for Poppy to teach him proper handwriting, as he said to get better than his stepbrother. And he also copied Poppy's handwriting for the essay contest. But with Guhai, he practiced his handwriting by copying Bailuyin's paper and then later presented it to Bailuyin in his never ending quest for Bayoluin's affection and approval. That paper mind you that he stole from Bayoluin's schoolwork, getting him into trouble. Like Guhai is just so sweet sometimes. What I'm saying is that the lead's relationships in both Addicted and Stay With Me are designed to explore dominance and submission, not in the literal BDSM context, but emotionally and psychologically. Guhai's dominant and forceful personality contrasts with Bailoyin's quieter but unyielding resilience, creating a dynamic filled with tension that shifts between confrontational and tenderness. Similarly, Wubi in Stay With Me displays more overtly dominant traits, while Suyu often adopts a quieter, more passive demeanor. However, both Bai Luyin and Suyu possess a subtle, quiet control within their so called submission, exerting influence in ways that balance the power dynamics in their respective relationships. This layered interplay is central to the emotional depth and appeal of both stories. At no point did I see Poppy exerting that kind of control over Hero or adding that submissive quality to their dynamic. The most I get with theirs was fascination and affection. Hero seems to me very fascinated with Poppy at the start, and Poppy just irritated by Hero's presence. And I think they missed the obsession, the addicted part of the show. Will the chemistry between the leads be better if there was more tension? I don't know. Probably. This trope thrives on conflict and friction, creating chemistry, so maybe. I think for me, the best part of Guhai and Wubi's character is their obsessive need to get affection from their partners. And I know it's romanticizing extreme behaviors. I'm not saying that we do that. I'm saying we fix it by providing a proper redemption arc. Wooby got a good one in Stay With Me. He was tempered by the family dynamic that he was exposed to in Suyu's home. Suyu's father and stepmother provided an environment for that specially duo, the stepsister. They're supposed to have that here too, but I couldn't for the life of me care about Poppy's younger stepbrother or his family in general, given that quite the chunk of the series happened away from the home. Stay With Me even made me care about Wooby's father and Suyu's biological stepmother. I mean, Suyu's biological mother. Here, I just hate Hero's family other than his aunt, and I'm indifferent to Poppy's other than the grandmother, probably. But I also love Bailoyin's grandmother, even though she's not on the screen as much, so that's saying something. So, going back, Hero being less volatile makes this remake more straightforward love story, which just means boring, really. Less satisfying than Guhai and Wubi bowing down to Bailoyin and Suyu. By the way, I also just finished watching this special episode. The first question is, why is this a special episode and not episode 11 or included with the first 10 episodes? But overall, it's not add to the viewing experience much. The whole plot is so unbelievable. You want me to believe these kids overpowered fully trained military people? Yeah, sure, I guess. It was supposed to have some kind of conclusion, but it honestly fell short. And that's about it. I think that's enough yapping on my end. Comment down below and tell me I'm right. If you think I'm wrong, well, I guess you're entitled to your wrong opinion. Just kidding. Tell me why you think I'm wrong. And tell me also if you think that hero is so pretty. Stay hydrated, drink more water. Bye bye.